Ancient stone corridors around the world capture and direct sunlight with impossible precision. This phenomenon, known as the stone corridors, engineered to channel light for purposes still unknown, lies at the heart of a historical mystery spanning continents and millennia. You will leave this video understanding the most compelling explanations for why our ancestors built these luminous pathways. We will explore why a beam of light was designed to strike a single spot deep inside a mountain on just one day each year, and what forgotten knowledge was required to align these structures with the stars. How does a civilization speak to the future without using a single word? A narrow stone passageway, cool and silent for most of the year, waits. Its construction is not an accident of architecture. The walls are not simply boundaries, and the ceiling is not merely a roof. Every surface, every angle, every carefully placed opening is part of a grand design to capture something fleeting and powerful, light itself. This is the essence of the stone corridor engineered to channel light. These structures are defined by their precise, almost impossible alignments with the sun, the moon, and the stars. As the renowned archaeoastronomer Dr. Edwin Krupp has often explained, the sky was a clock, a calendar, and a compass for ancient peoples, and their architecture reflects this profound cosmic connection. To understand these corridors, we must look at their common features. They often include long, straight shafts that pierce through immense amounts of stone, acting as telescopes for sunlight. Their inner walls might be polished to a reflective sheen, bouncing a beam of light deeper into a mountain's heart than it has any right to go. And most crucially, these features work in concert to create a dramatic display that occurs only on a specific day, at a specific hour, marking a solstice or an equinox with unerring accuracy. The beam that strikes a single carved spiral on a back wall is not a happy coincidence. It is the result of generations of observation and a stunning mastery of geometry and astronomy. What does it mean that cultures separated by vast oceans and thousands of years all arrived at this same sophisticated idea? The consistent presence of these elements points to a shared human impulse to reach for the heavens and bring a piece of that celestial order down to earth, a foundational understanding that sets the stage for their mysterious global presence. This architectural phenomenon stretches far beyond any single culture or landscape. In the high Andes of Peru, the Incan temple of Coricancha was once sheathed in gold, its interior corridors designed to become radiant pathways for the sun during the solstices, a direct conversation between the empire and its primary deity. Across the Atlantic, the massive Neolithic mound of Newgrange in Ireland conceals a narrow passage tomb. Above its entrance, a unique roof box opening captures the first, faint rays of the winter solstice sunrise, projecting a beam of light that travels over 60 feet into the central chamber, illuminating a space that had lain in darkness for a full year. The fact that these two sites, and countless others like them, were built by cultures with no known contact, separated by thousands of miles and thousands of years, presents one of history's most captivating puzzles. Was the desire to capture celestial light in stone a universal human discovery, emerging independently wherever people looked to the skies for meaning? Or does this recurring pattern hint at a deeper, more elusive thread, a fragment of shared knowledge that somehow traversed oceans and epochs before being lost to time? Each site bears the distinct signature of its creators. The techniques and materials differ, the local mythologies vary, yet the core principle remains unshakably consistent. A corridor is built not just for passage but for illumination. A specific day is marked not just on a calendar, but in stone and light. This global tapestry, woven with threads of sunlight, demonstrates a fundamental drive in early advanced societies to anchor their world, their rituals, and their very understanding of time to the reliable cycles of the cosmos. To grasp the sheer ambition of this endeavor, we must now step inside one of its most perfect and enduring expressions. Deep within the Great Pyramid, a narrow shaft ascends at a precise angle from the king's chamber, a corridor of stone piercing through millions of tons of masonry. For a long time, these mysterious passages were labeled as simple ventilation, an architectural necessity, but their true function is far more profound. These shafts were engineered with one purpose: to serve as celestial sightlines, targeting specific stars with an accuracy that still stuns modern astronomers. One shaft aligns perfectly with the pole star of its era, while another points directly to the belt of the constellation Orion and the bright star Sirius, bodies of immense importance in Egyptian mythology. The construction of these features represents a staggering feat. Workers had to calculate the angles years in advance, then maintain that exact alignment through the entire process of building the pyramid around it, a task requiring generations of accumulated astronomical knowledge. Egyptologist Mark Lehner proposed that the pyramids were, in essence, machines for the king's rebirth, and light was the key that activated them. This suggests the shafts were not merely symbolic, but functional components in a grand ritual. On the correct night, a beam of starlight from Orion's belt would have traveled down that long, dark corridor, arriving in the sealed chamber to symbolically reconnect the pharaoh's spirit with the eternal stars. Imagine the experience for a priest in that space, the sudden, faint illumination in a chamber of utter darkness, a moment where architecture, astronomy, and belief converged into a single, powerful event. Why go to such incredible lengths to encode the heavens in stone? It reveals a world view where the earthly and divine realms were intimately linked, where the soul's journey after this life was mapped onto the stars themselves. This sophisticated understanding of light and alignment did not exist in a vacuum. Remarkably similar ideas were taking shape entirely independently on another continent. High on a sun-baked butte in Chaco Canyon, a silent stone calendar waited for a rediscovery that would come 1,000 years after its creation. There, a carved spiral petroglyph becomes the focal point for a blade of light, a sun dagger that slices perfectly through its center only on the day of the summer solstice. This was not the work of a massive corridor, but of 3 precisely positioned stone slabs that act as a celestial aperture, filtering the sun's rays to create a shifting, dynamic display of light and shadow across the rock face. Researcher Anna Sofer, who brought this phenomenon back to the world's attention, described it eloquently as a complex solar and lunar calendar carved by light itself. The genius of the sun dagger lies in its elegant simplicity and its public nature. Unlike the hidden shafts within pyramids, this was a calendar in the open sky, accessible to the entire community. The positioning of the slabs creates not just one event, but a changing pattern of light throughout the year. As the seasons progress, the dagger of light moves, marking the equinoxes with twin shafts of light that bracket the spiral, and tracking the longer lunar cycle of 18.6 years. This was an integrated timepiece, its readings vital for knowing when to plant, when to harvest, and when to gather for important ceremonies. Why choose this method? It fused the practical with the profound. The celestial event was not just observed, it was performed. The community could witness their world's order enacted on a grand stone canvas, a direct and dramatic affirmation that their rituals were in harmony with the cosmos. This public spectacle of light served as a unifying force, binding the community's agricultural life and spiritual beliefs to the immutable rhythm of the sun. It represents a different expression of the same universal drive, not for a king's journey to the stars, but for a society's synchronized dance with the seasons. From these grand celestial clocks, we must then ask what happened when this hard-won knowledge was lost. A dark, sacred space holds its breath. For 364 days, it is a chamber of shadows and silence. Then on one single morning, a thread of gold pierces the gloom. It strikes a hidden altar, igniting a statue in a sudden, brilliant corona. In that transformative moment, a routine day becomes an epiphany, a direct encounter with the divine. This theatrical power is the heart of the spiritual hypothesis for the stone corridors. Many researchers argue these were not just calendars but sacred machinery, designed to manifest a deity's presence. The controlled, dramatic reveal of light could signify a portal opening for spiritual energy, or mark the precise instant for a ceremonial offering. The historian of religion Mircea Eliade wrote of light as a fundamental hierophany, a manifestation of the sacred that reveals ultimate reality. In this view, the beam was not a symbol, it was the substance of the divine itself. We see this echoed across cultures. A corridor aligned to illuminate a sun god's idol on the morning of the summer solstice would be, in essence, celebrating that deity's birthday with a gift of its own essence. Another, designed to capture the last sliver of sunset on the winter solstice, might reenact a goddess's annual descent into the underworld. The architecture itself amplifies the experience. The long, narrow passage builds anticipation, focusing the mind before the final, overwhelming revelation in the inner sanctum. This carefully engineered awe would have powerfully reinforced social and religious hierarchies, as only a privileged few would witness the most profound displays. Could the ultimate purpose have been to create an unforgettable spiritual experience, a shared memory of wonder that bound the entire community together under a common belief? This spiritual lens offers a compelling answer, seeing the corridors as bridges between heaven and earth. Yet the human impulse to build is rarely driven by a single motive. That sliver of sunlight creeping across a marked stone floor was far more than a spectacle. It was a signal, a command from the cosmos itself. For an ancient priest, its arrival on a specific spot confirmed the equinox, the moment to plant the vital crops that would sustain the community for the coming year. This practical necessity forms the core of the astronomical hypothesis, suggesting these corridors were humanity's first precision calendars. Beyond their spiritual drama, these structures likely functioned as observatories and sophisticated tools for tracking the cycles of the sun, moon, and stars. In societies without written records, this encoded knowledge was essential for agriculture, navigation, and the very keeping of time. The pioneering work of researchers like Anthony Aveni reveals how ancient architecture is a frozen record of celestial knowledge, a stone library of the skies. So how exactly did these alignments work? A corridor facing the sunrise on the summer solstice would catch the first ray of light only on that single day, the longest of the year. Another, angled for the winter solstice, would mark the year's shortest day and the sun's symbolic rebirth. But the complexity goes even deeper. Some sites track the more subtle 18.6-year cycle of the lunar standstill, the point where the moon reaches its most extreme rising and setting positions on the horizon. Achieving this level of precision was not a casual endeavor. It required generations of patient, meticulous observation, with knowledge passed down and refined over centuries. This hints at the existence of a dedicated class of sky watchers, individuals whose sole purpose was to read the heavens and translate their movements into stone. What did this gift of foresight offer a civilization? It meant the power to predict the seasons, to plan harvests with confidence, and to coordinate large-scale community projects. This reliable timekeeping brought stability, fostered population growth, and was quite possibly a cornerstone of their expansion. The astronomical function reveals a profound blend of survival and science, where understanding the sky was synonymous with ensuring the future. Yet the sheer ambition of these projects prompts a question: could the purpose have extended beyond marking time for this world and into preparing for the next? But the journey of light through stone may not have been a solitary one. Beyond the visual spectacle, some researchers propose these corridors were designed as multi-sensory chambers, where light worked in concert with sound and unseen energies to create a total environment for transformation. Picture the echo of a single chant within a long, narrow passage. The hard, smooth stone walls do not absorb the sound, they amplify it, reflecting and focusing the vibrations until the very air seems to hum. This field of archaeoacoustics, explored by figures like Paul Devereux, suggests that the geometry of these spaces was deliberately tuned. A specific frequency, perhaps from a drum or a human voice, could resonate through the entire structure, producing auditory effects that might have been used to induce altered states of consciousness during shamanic journeys, or to unite a community's voice during a ritual. The beam of light, in this theory, becomes a visual metronome for a symphony of sound. This leads to an even more speculative idea that the corridors were also energy amplifiers. Certain claims suggest the materials themselves, like the specific granite used in some sites, could act as conduits for subtle terrestrial energies, with the precise alignments focusing these forces. Light, then, might have served as a trigger or a simple visual indicator of these otherwise invisible interactions. Modern visitors to some of these sites occasionally report unusual sensations, a faint humming heard only inside the chamber, or a sudden feeling of tranquility that is difficult to explain. Mainstream archaeology often views these ideas with skepticism, citing a lack of conclusive evidence and the power of suggestion in such awe-inspiring places. Yet the possibility remains tantalizing. Could the true function of these spaces have been holistic, a forgotten technology that integrated light, sound, and the Earth's own energy into a single system for healing or enlightenment? This speculative avenue forces us to reconsider the limits of the builder's knowledge, suggesting an understanding of natural physics that we are only just beginning to measure. If they could indeed manipulate these unseen forces, what other profound secrets might their silent stone libraries hold? The sheer precision of these alignments forces us to confront a profound question. How did ancient builders, working millennia before modern instruments, achieve such an exact understanding of celestial mechanics and translate it into monumental stone? They did not have the telescope to peer deep into space, nor the theodolite to measure angles with digital certainty. Their tools were elemental, a testament to human ingenuity. Teams of dedicated observers would have used simple sighting poles or gnomons to track the shifting length and direction of a shadow cast by the sun over the course of a year. They employed water levels to establish perfectly horizontal foundations over uneven ground, a crucial step for ensuring their long corridors did not deviate from their intended celestial targets. As the historian of science James Evans notes, ancient astronomers were meticulous observers, and their architectural achievements are a testament to their patience and intellectual curiosity. This was not a quick process. It demanded generations of patient watching, recording the sun's most extreme rising and setting points on the horizon at the solstices, year after year, until a predictable pattern emerged from the chaos of the seasons. This accumulated knowledge, this long-term memory of the sky, was then etched into the landscape, the first attempts at construction might have involved smaller, temporary wooden structures that could be adjusted and refined before the commitment to permanent stone. The builders likely developed their own standardized units of measurement, using ropes and rods to replicate precise distances and angles across the entire building site. This complex web of knowledge, from astronomy to geometry to engineering, was not written in books. It was preserved through oral tradition and hands-on apprenticeship. A master builder would teach his students not just how to cut a stone, but how to read the sky, how to listen to the story the shadows told. This ensured that the principles for aligning a corridor to catch the first sliver of the winter solstice sun were passed down intact over centuries. What does this level of technical and organizational skill reveal about these societies? It speaks to a sophisticated cognitive ability for abstract thought and long-term planning, and to a social structure capable of supporting a specialized class of sky watchers and engineers. Their legacy is a silent challenge to our modern assumptions, proving that profound understanding can be built from the most fundamental tools. To fully grasp their accomplishment, we must look more closely at the specific instruments that turned celestial observation into architectural reality. The precision we see in the finished structures is matched only by the monumental effort required to build them. Moving from celestial observation to physical construction demanded not just intellectual mastery, but immense physical labor and innovative engineering. Consider the challenge of quarrying a multi-ton stone block, then transporting it for miles across rugged terrain. Workers likely used a system of wooden rollers, sledges, and earthen ramps, lubricating the path with water or mud to reduce friction. To position a massive lintel over a doorway with an accuracy of a fraction of a degree, they would have employed levers, ropes, and pivots, perhaps even using temporary wooden frameworks to support the stone until it settled perfectly into place. Engineering analyses, like those by archaeologist Colin Reeder, often point to the sophisticated use of counterweights to help raise heavy stones, and to precise stone cutting that created interlocking joints, resulting in the stable structures that have endured for millennia. The process began with meticulous surveying. Builders would have established a true north-south axis using star observations, then laid out the foundation with water levels to ensure it was perfectly flat over vast distances, a critical step for the long corridors that would eventually channel light. The walls were then raised, course by course, with each new layer of stone carefully checked for alignment against the celestial target. The final, dramatic phase was the placement of the capstone, or the creation of the light-channeling aperture itself. This might have involved a specially shaped opening, or even the use of polished reflective materials like gold leaf or obsidian to bounce the light beam deeper into the chamber than raw sunlight could travel. Some researchers speculate about the possible use of primitive lenses made from polished crystal to focus the light into a sharper, more intense beam. The social organization needed for such a project was staggering. It required a large, coordinated labor force of thousands, supported by farmers producing a food surplus. Skilled artisans, the master masons and astronomers, directed the work, their knowledge passed down through an unbroken chain of apprenticeship. How did they correct errors over a construction period that could span generations? The archaeological record shows evidence of revisions, with some passageways being subtly redirected or blocked and rebuilt to fine-tune the alignment. The sheer scale of this investment in human lives and resources underscores the profound importance these structures held. They were not vanity projects, they were the very heart of a civilization's identity, a permanent anchor to the cosmos whose construction was a communal act of faith and purpose. This immense effort forces a deeper question: what world you could possibly justify such a monumental undertaking? the stone corridors were far more than architectural marvels. They were stages for a cosmic drama written in light, a physical expression of a world view where the sun was a living god. For the ancient Egyptians, the sun god Ra undertook a perilous nightly journey through the underworld, and his triumphant rebirth at dawn was an event that needed to be ritually supported and celebrated. The precise shaft of light penetrating the king's chamber in the Great Pyramid can be seen as a reenactment of this very moment, a beam of solar energy awakening the pharaoh's spirit to join the eternal cycle. Across the ocean, the Inca revered Inti, the sun deity who was the divine ancestor of their emperor. When the solstice light traveled the golden corridors of Coricancha, it was not just a calendar mark, it was the god himself entering his house, a direct manifestation that legitimized the ruler's power as the son of the sun. As scholar David Carrasco has observed, ritual centers were often designed as symbolic cosmoses, where architecture replicated the perceived order of the universe. The long, dark passageway leading to an illuminated inner chamber perfectly mirrored the mythological journey from the chaos of darkness into the order and truth of divine light. In this context, light was synonymous with knowledge, truth, and royal authority. To control its dramatic appearance was to demonstrate a privileged connection to the gods themselves. Why did so many cultures independently arrive at this profound connection? It seems to be a universal human response to the most powerful and reliable force in the natural world. The daily victory of light over darkness provided a ready-made narrative of resurrection and hope, a story that societies eagerly built into the very bones of their most sacred spaces. This deep cultural embedding suggests the corridor's purposes were always multifaceted, intertwined with the very identity of the people who built them. Yet, even beyond myth and power, another layer of meaning awaits, hidden in the silent language of symbols carved into the stone itself. The light itself becomes a storyteller, its moving beam a finger pointing to a specific symbol at a precise moment. This is not random illumination. It is a deliberate act of emphasis, highlighting a message carved in stone that only becomes legible under celestial command. At the Mayan pyramid of Chichen Itza, for example, the setting sun on the equinoxes casts a series of triangular shadows down the main staircase, creating the undulating body of a giant serpent that slithers downward to join its stone head at the base. This phenomenon, as art historian Mary Miller has illuminated, transforms an architectural monument into a dynamic narrative, a performance where light and shadow enact a story of the feathered serpent deity descending from the heavens to the earth. The zenith sun, when it passes directly overhead and casts no shadow, might be the moment a beam touches a carved jaguar, a symbol of terrestrial power, signaling a sacred union between the sky and the underworld. What does this tell us? The builders were not just marking time, they were encoding their entire worldview into an interactive, solar-powered library. The symbols themselves offer further clues. Spirals found from Newgrange to the American Southwest are often interpreted as representations of the life cycle, the journey of the soul, or the vast, swirling cosmos. A beam of light striking the center of a spiral on the winter solstice could be seen as a symbolic rebirth, the sun returning to the source of all creation. Zigzags might depict lightning, water, or the path of spiritual energy, while concentric circles could symbolize portals, community, or ripples of influence. When a solstice sunrise aligns to illuminate such a symbol, it charges it with meaning, activating a connection between the community and the concept it represents. Why go to such lengths to create these ephemeral, light-activated messages? It was a way to make abstract beliefs tangible and unforgettable, A farmer witnessing the sun dagger pierce the heart of a spiral on the longest day of the year did not need a priest to explain the sun's power. He experienced it directly. This sophisticated symbolism served to unify the community under a shared set of values and a common understanding of their place in the universe, a social function that may have been just as vital as any astronomical or spiritual purpose. That ability to orchestrate the sun itself would have been the ultimate source of authority. A ruler who could announce the exact day the sun dagger would strike the spiral, or the precise moment the inner chamber would flood with gold, was not merely a king. He was a mediator, a figure who held a direct line to the gods and controlled the very cycles of time upon which all of society depended. This was not just political power, it was cosmic legitimacy. As the anthropologist Timothy Earle has noted, such ritual technologies were foundational to early states, a powerful strategy for mobilizing vast labor forces and forging a shared ideology. The construction of these corridors was itself a monumental act of social engineering. Quarrying the stone, transporting it across miles, and executing the precise alignments required a centralized authority capable of organizing thousands of workers, feeding them, and directing their efforts over generations. This process inherently concentrated resources and control into the hands of a ruling elite. The finished structure then became a permanent tool for reinforcing that hierarchy. On the morning of a solstice, the entire community might gather, their eyes fixed on the dark entrance to the sacred corridor. The ruler or high priest would stand at the focal point, and as the predicted beam of light arrived to illuminate them or a sacred object they held, it appeared as a public, undeniable endorsement from the heavens. The message was clear: the elite did not just serve the gods, they commanded their visible presence. Yet this spectacle of control also served a unifying purpose. These events likely doubled as great communal festivals, occasions that synchronized the calendar for an entire region. They marked the time to plant, to harvest, to trade, and to celebrate. In sharing this awe-inspiring experience, a diverse population could forge a common identity, bound by a collective witness to their world's divine order. So, were these corridors instruments of control or public amenities that benefited all? The answer is likely both. They consolidated power at the top while providing a vital, shared rhythm for life at the bottom. This delicate balance between unifying the community and empowering the ruler reveals the corridors as active, dynamic forces in the political landscape, a role that becomes even more compelling when we consider the whispers of their more esoteric applications. Beyond the spectacle for the masses lay a more intimate and demanding path. Some theories propose that these corridors served as sacred machines for initiation, guiding chosen individuals through a profound psychological and spiritual transformation. The journey itself was the teaching. A candidate, perhaps a seeker of esoteric knowledge, would be led into the absolute darkness of a long, winding passage. The disorientation was deliberate, stripping away familiar senses and forcing an inward turn. Then, at a precise, calculated moment, a single beam of sunlight would pierce the gloom, illuminating the initiate in a sudden, shocking corona. This dramatic sequence of darkness to light was a powerful physical metaphor for the entire process, death of the old self and rebirth into a new state of awareness. Authors like John Mitchell have suggested that the precise geometry of these spaces was not arbitrary, but a form of sacred architecture intended to resonate with the human spirit and facilitate a shift in consciousness. The psychological impact is undeniable. To be plunged into sensory deprivation and then overwhelmed by a directed, divine light would create an unforgettable imprint, a core memory that could redefine one's understanding of reality and their place within it. Cross-cultural parallels abound. From the labyrinthine caves used in ancient Greek mystery schools to the dark kivas of the American Southwest, we see a recurring template for rites of passage that involve a symbolic descent into darkness followed by an enlightened return. What was the reward for navigating this luminous trial? It was likely not a physical object, but a status, an esoteric understanding, or an induction into a secret society that held sway over spiritual or intellectual matters. The knowledge conferred might have been about the true movements of the heavens, the nature of the soul, or the hidden workings of the world, truths considered too powerful for the general populace. This esoteric lens transforms the stone corridor from a public calendar into a private crucible, a place where light was not just observed, but personally experienced as a catalyst for inner change. It suggests a hierarchy of knowledge where the outer function served the community, while the inner journey served the evolution of the individual. This personal dimension of enlightenment compels us to ask if the builder's ambitions extended even further into the realm of harnessing the very energy of the earth. The same beam of light that signaled a god's presence could also have dried grains for the long winter ahead. This possibility leads us to the more grounded, yet equally brilliant practical applications of these engineered corridors. Beyond the sacred ceremonies, the precise control of sunlight may have been a cornerstone of daily survival and economic prosperity. Imagine a storage chamber carved into a hillside, designed with a narrow shaft angled to capture the low, gentle rays of the winter sun. This passive solar heating system would raise the interior temperature just enough to keep precious stores of grain dry and free from rot, while the same chamber, by blocking the intense summer sun, would remain cool, preserving food and other perishables. Experimental archaeologist Maureen Clemens has demonstrated how even simple structures, when correctly aligned, can create significant temperature differentials, functioning as natural refrigerators or ovens. A focused beam of light could have served as a highly efficient tool for artisans, providing consistent, shadow-free illumination for hours each day to those painting delicate pottery, weaving intricate textiles, or inscribing clay tablets. The precise light control in these spaces may have also played a role in material production. Certain chemical processes, like the drying of specific dyes or the curing of plasters, are highly dependent on consistent light and temperature levels, conditions these corridors could reliably provide. The argument against a purely utilitarian purpose often points to the immense effort involved. Would a society invest generations of labor just to build a better pantry? Perhaps not, if that were its only function, but the true genius of these structures likely lies in their multifunctionality. A single corridor could mark the solstice for a grand public ritual, guide and initiate through a spiritual rebirth, and then, for the rest of the year, ensure the community's grain supply remained safe from mold and its artisans could produce their finest work. This holistic approach reflects a worldview that did not separate the practical from the profound. Ensuring the food supply was a sacred act, and understanding the sky was a practical necessity. The light channel was a single tool woven into every aspect of life, from the storage of physical sustenance to the nourishment of the human spirit. This seamless integration of function and meaning presents a unique challenge for modern researchers trying to decipher their primary purpose, a puzzle made even more difficult by the passage of time itself. The quiet rediscovery of these ancient marvels often began with a single moment of unexpected clarity. In the summer of 1977, an artist named Anna Sofer was sketching a petroglyph panel in Chaco Canyon when she witnessed a blade of sunlight slice perfectly through the center of a carved spiral. This serendipitous observation was not a one-time fluke. It was the first modern glimpse of a sophisticated celestial calendar, a discovery that would fundamentally reshape our understanding of ancestral Puebloan astronomy. Her dedicated, decades-long work to document the sun-dagger phenomenon faced initial skepticism, a common thread in the story of these light channels. The academic world often struggled to accept that prehistoric cultures could possess such precise astronomical knowledge, with many early reports of alignments being dismissed as coincidence or overactive imagination. At Newgrange, the roof box opening had been known for centuries, but its true function remained a mystery until 1963, when an archaeologist decided to be present at dawn on the winter solstice. He witnessed the narrow beam of light creep slowly down the passage to illuminate the inner chamber, a moment that confirmed the site was not just a tomb, but a sophisticated instrument for capturing the reborn sun. This process of verification is meticulous, requiring years of observation to rule out chance and confirm that an alignment is both intentional and repeatable across annual cycles. How do modern researchers prove such ancient intent without altering the fragile sites they study? The answer lies in a powerful new toolkit for seeing the past. Three-dimensional laser scanning captures every contour of a stone corridor with millimeter accuracy, creating a perfect digital twin. Photogrammetry uses thousands of overlapping photographs to build a detailed, measurable model. These digital replicas allow archaeologists and astronomers to run endless computer simulations, testing solar and lunar alignments across centuries to see if a shaft of light would have truly struck a specific symbol on a significant date. This technology has not only confirmed what we suspected, it has revealed entirely new layers of complexity. Simulations have uncovered secondary alignments, where light interacts with multiple symbols throughout the year, and have detected subtle architectural features like slight tilts in a wall or a barely noticeable bump in the ceiling that are essential for focusing the beam. The investigation is increasingly a collaborative dialogue, bringing together hard data with the living oral traditions of indigenous knowledge holders. Their cultural insights provide context that raw data cannot, helping to interpret the meaning behind the alignments and suggesting new celestial events to model. This fusion of cutting-edge science and ancestral memory is painting a richer, more respectful picture of these sites. The mystery endures because each technological advance reveals another question, pushing us to consider not just how these corridors were built, but how we can preserve their delicate balance of stone and light for generations yet to come. That celestial precision, held in place for thousands of years, now hangs in a delicate balance. The same pinpoint accuracy that defines these stone corridors also makes them profoundly fragile. A single earthquake tremor, a minuscule shift in the foundation, is all it takes to silence a light show that has run on schedule for millennia. The alignment is so exact that even the gradual settling of the Earth beneath it can throw the entire system out of sync, causing the sacred beam of light to miss its mark by a fatal inch, rendering the ancient calendar inert. Conservation specialists like Giora Solar have meticulously recorded how subtle environmental changes pose a significant threat. Soil erosion can destabilize a monument's foundation, while the sheer volume of tourism introduces new variables, from the vibration of countless footsteps to the changes in humidity from human breath. Even broader climate shifts altering temperature and rainfall patterns can affect the microenvironment around a site, causing stone to expand, contract, or weather in new ways. The story of preservation is often a story of loss. There are sites where historical records describe a perfect alignment that no longer functions, its celestial synchrony lost to a landslide in the distant past, or a well-intentioned but clumsy restoration effort that used incompatible materials, permanently altering the angle of a critical passageway. Vandalism, whether ancient or modern, has also scarred these silent libraries, chipping away at the very symbols the light was meant to activate. This presents a profound ethical dilemma for those tasked with protecting this heritage. Do we intervene with modern engineering, reinforcing walls with steel and concrete to prevent further decay, even if it means the structure is no longer purely original? Or do we allow the natural processes of time to take their course, accepting that these monuments, like the cultures that built them, have a life cycle that includes a return to the earth? The goal is not to freeze these sites in time, but to maintain them as living laboratories of ancient knowledge. This requires a constant, delicate dance of monitoring and minimal intervention, using non-invasive technologies like ground-penetrating radar to understand subsurface stability without ever touching a stone. Every action is weighed against the potential to inadvertently erase the very genius we seek to preserve. How do we protect a beam of sunlight? The answer lies in safeguarding the fragile stone channel that guides it, a task that demands as much patience and foresight as the original construction itself. This ongoing vigilance opens a window into the future, where new discoveries about these sites continue to emerge from the most unexpected places. The silent stones are beginning to speak, not through words but through data. Modern research has unlocked a new era of discovery, allowing us to probe these ancient mysteries without ever touching a single weathered surface. High above a jungle canopy, a drone equipped with LiDAR technology sends down millions of laser pulses, piercing the dense foliage to map the ground below with centimeter accuracy. What emerges is a stunning digital elevation model, revealing the ghostly outline of a structure lost for centuries, its long-buried corridors perfectly oriented toward a solstice sunrise no human eye has witnessed in 1,000 years. This non-invasive approach is revolutionizing our understanding, turning entire landscapes into open books. Ground-penetrating radar peers into the earth like an X-ray, uncovering hidden chambers and confirming the existence of suspected passageways, all while leaving the sacred soil undisturbed. These technological leaps are not just about finding new sites, they are about preserving the ones we have. Initiatives like the SciArc project create immortal digital twins of World Heritage sites, three-dimensional archives so precise that researchers can run endless virtual experiments. They can simulate the path of sunlight through a corridor at any date in history, or test how a specific chant would have echoed off its walls, analyses that would be far too risky or even impossible to perform on the fragile physical structure itself. Sophisticated software now allows astronomers to wind back the cosmic clock, reconstructing the night sky as it appeared to a priest astronomer 4,000 years ago. This reveals alignments with stars that have slowly drifted from their ancient positions due to the subtle wobble of the Earth's axis, a phenomenon known as precession. A shaft that today points to empty space might have once targeted a brilliant star central to their mythology, a connection lost to time until now. This digital proof is reshaping old debates, moving what was once dismissed as romantic speculation into the realm of demonstrable fact. The investigation has become profoundly interdisciplinary, creating unexpected collaborations. Data scientists build complex models of how light would interact with specific surface textures, while physicists map the acoustic properties of the stone to understand how sound might have been focused and amplified. Historians and indigenous knowledge holders then provide the crucial context, suggesting which celestial events or cultural practices to simulate, ensuring the technology serves the story rather than the other way around. What new discoveries lie on the horizon? We are on the cusp of understanding these sites not as isolated monuments, but as integrated systems where light, sound, geology, and belief converge. This fusion of cutting-edge tools and ancient riddles invites us to look past pure astronomy and ritual, and to entertain the more speculative possibilities that have always whispered from the shadows of these corridors. The allure of the impossible often casts the longest shadow. When faced with the staggering precision of these ancient corridors, a compelling narrative emerges from the fringes of history, suggesting we are not seeing the work of human hands alone. This vibrant ecosystem of alternative theories proposes that such perfect alignments are evidence of lost high technology, intervention by advanced extraterrestrial beings, or the scattered legacy of a global precursor civilization like Atlantis. A proponent might argue that the granite shafts within the Great Pyramid, with their flawless angles and mirror-smooth surfaces, represent a level of engineering impossible for Bronze Age tools. The conclusion drawn is that this knowledge must have been a gift provided by visitors from the stars who guided humanity's first steps toward greatness. These ideas have found fertile ground in popular media, offering grand, cinematic answers to deeply puzzling questions. Yet, scholars like Kenneth Feder systematically address these claims, not with dismissal, but with a focus on the evidence. They point to the complete absence of any physical proof for such advanced visitors or a globally connected precursor culture. More importantly, they argue that these theories fundamentally underestimate the profound ingenuity, patience, and observational power of our ancestors. The core argument against these ideas rests on Occam's razor, the principle that the simplest solution with the fewest assumptions is often the correct one. Is it more plausible that an alien race traveled light years to teach pyramid construction, or that generations of dedicated human sky watchers, using simple tools and accumulated wisdom, achieved this brilliance on their own? The enduring appeal of these fringe theories is understandable. They fill the silent gaps in the archaeological record with thrilling narratives that resonate with modern desires for mystery and a lost golden age. They simplify a complex, fragmented past into a single, epic story. Navigating the line between open-minded wonder and methodological rigor is a central challenge in this field. Engaging with these ideas is not a pointless exercise. It helps to clearly define the boundaries of credible research by testing claims against evidence. This process of questioning and validation ultimately strengthens our understanding, forcing us to articulate precisely why the human-centered explanation is not just sufficient, but extraordinary. It prepares us to set aside the stars as architects and return our gaze to the earth, to synthesize the most plausible explanations from the tools, the stones, and the undeniable genius of the people who placed them. So where does the evidence ultimately lead us? The most compelling answer is not a single purpose, but a profound convergence. These stone corridors were likely multifunctional masterpieces, their meaning fluid across the calendar and within the social hierarchy. A single structure could serve as a celestial clock for a farmer, a divine stage for a king, and a transformative chamber for an initiate, all without contradiction. To weigh the theories, we can create a simple framework. The astronomical and calendrical hypothesis scores exceptionally high on evidence strength, as the alignments are measurable, repeatable, and demonstrably useful for survival. The spiritual and political theories, while harder to prove with physical artifacts, possess immense cultural consistency, fitting seamlessly with everything we know about ancient worldviews and the strategies of early state formation. The more speculative ideas about energy or acoustics, while fascinating, currently lack the explanatory power of the others, resting on a thinner foundation of verifiable data. This is where Occam's razor guides us. The simplest adequate explanation is that these are human achievements, born from generations of patient observation and a desire to synchronize human life with the cosmos. Yet human motivation is rarely simple. A ruler did not build a solstice corridor merely to know when to plant crops. He built it to demonstrate that his power was the very reason the sun returned and the crops would grow. The spiritual, the practical, and the political were woven into a single, unbreakable strand. A growing consensus among experts, therefore, rejects the idea of a single primary purpose. Instead, these sites are now seen as integrated centers of knowledge, where science, religion, and social power were not separate disciplines, but different expressions of a unified cosmic order. The true genius of the stone corridors may lie in this elegant synthesis. They were not just tools for marking time or inspiring awe. They were the physical embodiment of a civilization's entire understanding of its place in the universe. This layered intentionality does not dilute their mystery, it deepens it, revealing a sophistication that challenges our modern, compartmentalized view of the world. These silent stone calendars speak to a shared human genius, a universal language written in geometry and light. The fact that cultures across the globe, working in complete isolation, all arrived at the profound idea of channeling celestial cycles through architecture points to something fundamental in our collective mind. It reveals a shared cognitive toolkit for making sense of the world, an innate drive to find patterns in nature and impose our own order upon them. As the philosopher Yuval Noah Harari has observed, our species' unique ability to create and believe in complex, shared concepts allowed for unprecedented levels of cooperation. Building a structure that would not be completed in a single lifetime required just that, a shared belief in a future so important that thousands of people would labor for a goal they would never see. This long-term vision stands in stark contrast to our modern focus on immediate results, reminding us of the power inherent in intergenerational projects and the patient transfer of knowledge from master to apprentice. What we label today as separate fields, science, art, and religion, were for these builders a single, unified endeavor. The precise angle of a sun's shaft was both a scientific calculation and a spiritual act. The elegant carving it illuminated was both sacred art and a functional data point. This holistic world, you did not compartmentalize knowledge but wove it into a cohesive understanding of a universe where the practical and the profound were inseparable. Their legacy is a powerful challenge to our assumptions about pre-modern intelligence. It forces us to recognize that the absence of digital tools does not mean an absence of profound intellectual depth. These corridors are monuments to patience and precision, qualities that feel increasingly rare. They demonstrate a relationship with the natural environment built not on domination, but on a deep, attentive dialogue with the sun, the moon, and the stars. In an age of constant distraction, their silent, enduring alignment invites us to consider what we might build if we too planned for centuries, and what forgotten harmonies we might rediscover by simply looking up. That same celestial dance unfolds right outside your window. You can become an observer of these ancient principles without ever leaving your home. Start by noticing how a patch of sunlight moves across your floor throughout the day, or how it strikes a particular wall only during certain weeks of the year. The exact spot where a sunbeam lands at noon in December will be in a completely different place by June. This simple, daily performance is a miniature version of the grand alignments built into stone corridors. To deepen your investigation, you can use a basic compass to find true north, and then employ a free smartphone app to track the sun's predicted path across your local sky. Note the specific date and time when the light perfectly frames a doorway or illuminates a painting on your wall. Document these moments with a photograph or a note in a journal. You might discover that your own living space has an unintended alignment, marking an equinox or a solstice in a quiet, personal spectacle. Look beyond your home to the public architecture in your community. Older structures like libraries, churches, or even war memorials often feature long corridors, large windows, or domed ceilings. Visit one at different times of the day and year. Does a stained glass window transform the interior with a specific color at a predictable time? Does a shadow cast by a spire touch a particular point on the ground only on one morning? These are not necessarily the work of ancient master astronomers, but they are built by people using the same sun, working with the same fundamental geometry of light. Sharing your observations with online communities dedicated to citizen science can connect your local discovery to a global network of enthusiasts. Your photograph of a unique light pattern could be the key piece of data that helps another researcher understand a historical site. For a deeper understanding, consider visiting a local planetarium or connecting with a university astronomy club. Learning about the celestial mechanics that govern the sun's apparent movement will give you the vocabulary to read the language of light and shadow written into our world. What story might the sunrise tell as it passes through the archway of that old bridge in your town? Becoming an active witness to these cycles transforms the ancient mystery from a distant wonder into a living dialogue, one where you are now a participant in unraveling the enduring relationship between human intention and the path of the sun. A sliver of light striking the same spot year after year is not a trick of the landscape. The argument that these effects are mere coincidences crumbles under the weight of their own consistency. Natural rock formations are chaotic and uneven, yet the corridors we find are defined by their repeated mathematical precision. A single alignment could be chance, but when a structure marks the summer solstice sunrise, the winter solstice sunset, and a major lunar standstill, all with different architectural features, the probability of that being an accident drops to zero. This is not a one-time event, it is a calendar built in stone, designed to perform its celestial dance across countless generations. The proof lies in the pattern, a global phenomenon of intention etched into granite and limestone. The leap from this undeniable intentionality to attributing it to lost super-civilizations or otherworldly architects is a dramatic one, yet it fundamentally misreads the evidence. This idea often stems from a modern bias, an underestimation of the power of cumulative human knowledge. We look at the finished pyramid and struggle to see the thousands of years of observation and innovation that led to its completion. It is like watching a master violinist and concluding they must have been born playing a concerto, ignoring the decades of practice that built their skill. Ancient engineers did not possess magical tools, but they did have an incredibly sophisticated toolkit. They had patience, perhaps the most powerful technology of all. They had a deep, generational understanding of geometry, using ropes and pegs to lay out perfect right angles and long, straight lines. They had simple but effective levels using water to ensure their foundations were perfectly flat over vast distances. Another frequent misunderstanding is the assumption that these corridors universally point to true north, like a compass. While some, like the Great Pyramid's air shafts, do target specific stars, the vast majority are aligned to the much more dynamic extremes of the sun and moon. They point to the location on the horizon where the sun rises on the longest day of the year, or where it sets on the shortest. They track the moon's slow, 18.6-year cycle as it reaches its own northern and southern limits. These are moving targets, far more complex to pin down than a fixed northern star. This distinction is crucial as it reveals a civilization deeply engaged with the cycles of life, seasons, and time, not just with static cardinal directions. So why do these myths hold such power in our imagination? They offer a simpler, more thrilling narrative than the slow, painstaking work of human progress. It is more cinematic to imagine a single cataclysm or a visit from the stars than to appreciate the centuries of trial and error, of careful record-keeping and knowledge passed from elder to apprentice. Yet, correcting these misconceptions does not diminish the wonder of these sites, it amplifies it. Understanding that these precise alignments were achieved with simple tools and profound patience makes the accomplishment truly breathtaking. It shifts our admiration from a hypothetical, external force to the undeniable genius of our own ancestors. This clearer view allows us to see these corridors for what they truly are, not as relics of a mysterious other, but as towering monuments to human curiosity, cooperation, and our enduring desire to find our place in the cosmos. The silent stones still guard their deepest secrets. For all we have uncovered about these celestial corridors, fundamental puzzles remain stubbornly out of reach. We have no master blueprint, no grand architectural plan etched in clay or stone that guided the construction of sites like Newgrange or the Great Pyramid. How did a master builder in Chaco Canyon convey the exact angle for a sun dagger to an apprentice, or communicate that precise alignment to another community hundreds of miles away? The knowledge was standardized and disseminated across vast territories, yet the mechanism for this sharing has vanished, likely existing on perishable materials like woven textiles, painted hides, or carved wood that returned to the earth long ago. This ephemeral evidence represents a ghost in the archaeological machine, the missing link in our understanding of their technical communication. The future of research now turns to finding traces of these lost components. Advanced isotopic analysis can pinpoint the specific quarry source of stones with incredible accuracy, allowing researchers to map ancient trade routes and construction timelines with a precision once thought impossible. This could reveal if a specialized class of engineers traveled between sacred sites, carrying their astronomical knowledge with them. New frontiers for discovery are opening in the most unexpected places. As sea levels have changed over millennia, coastal settlements and their potential light-channeling structures may now lie submerged in shallow waters. Underwater archaeology offers the tantalizing possibility of finding pristine sites, sealed for centuries beneath silt and sand, their alignments frozen in time. On land, the sheer volume of data from thousands of known sites presents a different kind of ocean. Here, artificial intelligence can serve as a powerful research assistant, sifting through global archaeological records to identify subtle patterns of alignment, construction techniques, or symbolic repetition that would be invisible to the human eye working alone. An AI might cross-reference the orientation of a corridor in Scotland with one in Peru, searching for a common celestial target that we have not yet thought to consider. Yet the most promising frontier is not only technological but ethical and collaborative. There is a growing imperative to fully involve descendant communities in this research. Their oral histories and cultural knowledge are not mere stories. They are living databases of meaning that can guide scientific inquiry. Our elders teaching about a specific star's significance could be the key that unlocks the purpose of a mysterious alignment, ensuring that interpretation is not just technically accurate but culturally respectful. This partnership enriches the science, transforming cold data into a warmer, more complete human story. What groundbreaking revelation awaits us? It might be a child stumbling upon a faded pictograph that explains the entire system, or a new scanning technology that reveals the ghost of a wooden teaching model inside a sealed chamber. The quest to understand these corridors is far from over. It is an ongoing conversation between the past and the future, a reminder that every answer we find simply illuminates the path to the next, even more compelling question. The impulse to channel light runs far deeper than human history, etched into the very fabric of the living world. Consider the towering cathedral mounds of termites, structures that function as intricate climate control systems. Biologist J. Scott Turner describes these mounds not as inert piles of dirt, but as extended organisms with internal corridors and chambers that use convection and strategic orientation to regulate temperature, humidity, and even light levels for the fungus gardens within. This is not so different from a stone corridor designed to capture the sun's low winter rays to warm a sacred chamber. The principle is the same, managing a powerful natural force through architectural intelligence to create a stable, life-sustaining environment. Elsewhere in nature, light becomes a language. A honeybee returning to the hive performs a waggle dance on the vertical honeycomb. The angle of this dance relative to gravity directly translates to the direction of a food source in relation to the sun's position. The hive itself, dark and enclosed, becomes a private theater where a beam of invisible sunlight is communicated through movement, a biological parallel to a sunbeam striking a carved symbol to convey a message to an entire community. Even the simple daily ritual of a sunflower turning its face to follow the sun across the sky is a form of heliotropism, a living pursuit of light for energy and growth. These biological systems reveal the fundamental advantages of mastering light, advantages that would not have been lost on ancient observers. The reflective layer in the eyes of nocturnal animals, the tapetum lucidum, efficiently captures every available photon of moonlight to see in near darkness. Could the polished walls of a stone corridor, glinting with mica or gold leaf, represent a similar attempt to amplify a faint celestial signal to see the divine more clearly? The functional benefits are universal, regulating temperature, marking time, and enabling communication. This raises a profound question. Were the first human architects consciously mimicking the termite's mound or the bee's navigational genius? Or were they simply tapping into the same universal principles of physics and survival? This interdisciplinary view transforms the stone corridors from isolated human achievements into part of a grand continuum. They become our species' unique expression of a drive that connects all life, the drive to harness the sun's power and meaning. Seeing them this way enriches our appreciation, suggesting that the true blueprint for these wonders may have been written not on parchment, but in the patterns of the natural world itself, waiting for a conscious mind to read them and build them in stone. This journey through the silent, sun-drenched corridors of the past leaves us not with a single answer, but with a deeper, more resonant question. We have stood in the heart of mountains and gazed down passages that transform sunlight into prophecy, from the celestial shafts of the Great Pyramid to the public calendar of Chaco Canyon. We have weighed the theories of astronomical necessity, spiritual theater, and political power, finding that each holds a piece of the truth. The ultimate purpose of these structures likely wove all these threads together, a tapestry of human need and aspiration as complex as the societies that built them. The true genius of our ancestors lies in this synthesis, their ability to fuse the practical need to track seasons with the profound yearning to touch the divine, all while forging a collective identity under the authority of a cosmic order. These monuments are not relics of a simpler time, but of a more integrated worldview, one that did not separate science from spirit. Their enduring mystery is a gift, a permanent invitation to wonder. It reminds us that our history is still rich with enigmas, stories written not in ink but in stone and light, waiting for a curious mind to read them. Let this exploration inspire you to see the world differently. Notice how the sunlight moves through your own space, marking the quiet passage of the seasons. The same cosmic dance that guided ancient architects unfolds around you every day. If these echoes of the past have illuminated your own curiosity, there are countless more historical puzzles to explore. We welcome you to join the conversation and share which of these light-channeling corridors captured your imagination in the comments